Ladies and gentlemen, it's Hot Legs, straight from the Wine Exchange, with wine expert Kyle Meyer.
All right, so we got a real treat for you today. We've been monitoring Spain for the last decade, and it's no surprise. You read in the wine press, you see it in the wine blogs or what have you, that Spain is one of the up-and-coming areas in the world of wine. There's a reason for that. Spain is blessed with some of the finest natural raw materials, vineyard-wise, in the world. And now, we're not talking, let's plant a Pinot Noir vineyard here and it's really sunny and we'll make a really nice wine out of it. We're talking history. We're talking 100-year-old vines. We're talking some of the greatest mineral-rich, nutrient-poor soils in the world. What we weren't talking 15 years ago was money. Spain didn't have any money. And that was one of the biggest problems we encountered with trying to find world-class Spanish wines. All this great raw material, no investment behind it. Essentially, you got the grapes into the winery, and everyone was like, looking for the guy with the dough, looking for the guy, buy me the barrels, buy me the tanks, buy me the vineyard workers to make this happen. And that has changed. That has changed. And that's what makes this previous decade for Spanish wine so special. Now we're going to see two poster children, if you will, for the Renaissance of Spanish wine. And there is a theme here today. We're dealing with Garnacha, old vine Garnacha, Viñas Viejas. And we're dealing with two of the finest vineyard areas in the northern part of Spain. They weren't necessarily considered fine, at least one of them wasn't considered fine until just recently, but the emergence of a couple top-flight wines from these areas have thrust these areas into worldwide prominence. We're going to start with the Santa Cruz de Artazu. This is from Juan Carlos López de la Calle. Now, Juan Carlos, hardcore Spanish wine geeks may recognize him as the owner proprietor of the Artadi estate, which is known as one of the top 3 or 4 wineries in the entire Rioja region. He makes world-class wines, 100-point wines, impossible to find wines, and some of the finest wines in the world. Well, Juan Carlos was getting a little hitch in his giddy-up. Obviously, he's getting a little itchy. The Artadi thing was going well, but he wanted to do a little more. So what he did is he went out on a quest, seeing as he had kind of conquered Tempranillo in the Rioja region, and decided to move on to Garnacha. Now, he went on this quest to find what he thought was the best Garnacha growing in Spain, which is a tall order. There are literally thousands and thousands and thousands of acres of fabulous old vines to choose from throughout the country. Señor López de la Calle decided upon Navarra. Now, I'm going to point out Navarra on the map here so you can get a grip on it. Navarra is located near the very top of Spain. Actually, it is in the Basque country. And what we get here is we get this wonderful intermingling of Atlantic and Mediterranean climates. You get warm days and you get very cool nights from the moderating coastal influence. And this is one of the very few patches of older vines that are left in Navarra. The phylloxera scourge in the late 1800s tore the region asunder. And it took them years and years and years, decades actually, to replant. And when they were replanting, they weren't quite sure what to replant with. What worked in Navarra? Well, that being said, there were still a few small patches of these original replanted 100-year-old vines available throughout the region. And Juan Carlos managed to finagle one of these patches. And that's where we get Santa Cruz de Artazu. This vine is 100% old vine Grenache, single vineyard. These are what we call terroir wines. He wants the terroir to speak. Therefore, this wine is aged only in larger kind of neutral wood barrels. So therefore, there's no oak influence in these wines, which I really love. Because when you have vines this old and the terroir this special, you really want the place to shine through. And shine it does. Immediately, you get the cooler feel of Navarra. Because people think of Spain, they think, hot, man, caliente, geez Louise, 17-octane beasts and huge black porty wines like from Priorat and such. Fact of the matter is, Navarra is very cool. And you see it in this wine. You get a cool cherry character, less of that over-the-top Kirsch, cran, raspberry thing you would get from like the warmer climates of Chateauneuf or something like that. This wine has elegance, class in the glass. You already smell it even before you taste it. A riper, fresh cherry, like a fresh Bing cherry, just great nose. A little bit of spice. Hard spit. That's a good thing. What I like about this one is what a cool customer this wine is. Immediately, like I said before, people think old vine Grenache from Spain. They think porty, over the top. On the contrary, this wine almost has a Pinot-like finesse to go along with all those dense, concentrated, old viney flavors in the mid-palate. The finish is beautiful. 2004 is a fabulous year. Juan Carlos is a great winemaker. Put 3 and 3 together. I mean, this wine is magic. What a wine. There's a nice minerality coming through, too. Wow. I love when they taste even better than you think they're going to. It psychs me out. Terrific. On the shelf for in the mid-30s, so pricey, but it comes in the fancy 6-pack wood box. I mean, this is good to go. Big, heavy bottle, looks great, cellar is super, gets huge press every year. If there is such a thing as a no-brainer in this price range from Spain, this is it. And arguably, to me, the finest wine produced in the Navarra area of Spain. Hands down. No discussion. Senor. Next wine. This wine's near and dear. Great story behind this wine, too. This is a made wine. And when I say it's a made wine, I'm talking about the fact that this wine is produced at one of Spain's many cooperative wineries. Now, these wineries literally produce millions and millions and millions of liters of wine. Because before this whole advent of top-flight boutique Spanish wine started, what happened is all the local growers would just basically harvest their grapes, throw them in a truck, take them down to the co-op would write them a check, or however they did, I don't know, pesetas, whatever the deal was, and they went on their merry way. Now, what you have here is a situation where a top-flight importer like Eric Solomon, who's one of the top boutique importers in the country, he comes in and goes to the cooperative winery because he knows the winery is vinifying fabulous wines from old vines and basically cherry picks. He walks around with his winemaker, Jean-Marc Lafage, who is his secret weapon for many of the top Eric Solomon wines. And they go tank to tank. And they sit there and pick out what they want to work with. They get the cream of the crop. And the cooperative is more than happy to do it for them based on the fact they'll realize twice as much money from these wines as from what they'll sell just locally on the bulk market. That being said, Las Rocas comes from a very special patch of old vines in the area called Calatayud. Now, Calatayud is about 150 miles northeast of Madrid. So if you're looking on your map, you'll find it in this neck of the woods right here. Now, the same type of thing with Calatayud. We have warm days and cool nights. Not quite as cool as Navarra, but still the influence is enough that the wines maintain brilliant acidity and fabulous cut while still having all those rich, old viney Grenache flavors. Now, when they're talking Viñas Viejas, they mean Viñas Viejas. These are old vines, like the Santa Cruz de Artazu, 100-year-old plus vines go into this one. They make another bottling, which is ridiculously cheap, which comes from the younger vines, younger being 60 to 90 years old. I mean, what a joke. I mean, how many 60-year-old vines are there in California? And when there are 60-year-old vines in California, people are charging $50 for this stuff. I mean, cuckoo. So, this is great. 60% of this wine is aged in a combination of old and new wood, and the other 40% is done in stainless steel. Once again, to preserve the integrity of the terroir, that little piece of something that makes these wines so special. And of course, like the previous wine, bottled, unfined, and unfiltered. Now here you get more of that urgent black cherry rush with a little bit of that Kirsch kicker. Once again, not porty, not over the top. Balance is very important with these wines. Gorgeous notes. A little more cinnamon creeping into this wine. The spicier baking note. Maybe a touch less elegant, touch more cowboy than the Santa Cruz de Artazu, but still loaded with complexity. Tell you what, put down a blind tasting with a bunch of fancy Chateauneuf du Pape at $30, $40, $50 a bottle. You see where this wine at $15 a bottle places against those. You'd be shocked. I think it would stand it would easily finish in the top half of the pack, and very easily could be one of the best wines on the table that particular evening. A stunning value, and one of the world's greatest wine values, hands down. Now, Spain is loaded with these values. This is nothing new to a lot of folks that enjoy Spanish wine on a regular basis. But what is compelling about this particular wine is even above and beyond the normal, wow, what a deal. This is one of the finest examples of this particular cuvee we've ever tasted. And at $15 is an outright steal. So there you have it. Two fabulous old vine Grenache, both doing their own thing. You got the more elegant polished Santa Cruz de Artazu right here with that sense of finesse and balance and polish. And here you got the little more rough and tumble Las Rocas, but still one of the world's finest wines in its own right. Viva Garnacha!